Here's a quick overview of the bonus tool called Drag Move, which is under the Modify menu set. Now the Drag Move tool is an interactive placement tool basically that allows you to essentially select an object and then apply the tool, and then you get a heads-up display that lets you know that you basically click in the viewport to drag this object around on its ground plane. So what you'll see is that as I'm dragging this around, it's actually dragging around on the existing ground plane. Now I can also go in and I can grab multiple objects, so I can basically select all these objects and then just hit Y to reactivate the tool, and now I can move all these in kind of a relative mode. Now it also respects snapping. So what I can do is I can go in, and if I display these objects here, one thing I can do is, right now it's dragging these around its own ground plane. If I hold down Control, then I can change the vertical placement. So now what you'll see is Control is actually allowing me to move it above and below the ground plane. And this will reset the ground plane. So now I'm working along a virtual ground plane. So now it's as though the ground plane had been moved up slightly. But again, I can snap to specific points. So I can hold down V and I can click on the corner of this object here. And now that will reset my ground plane, so that now I'm dragging these objects around a virtual plane essentially. It's not actually constraining to the surface. It's infinite basically. It expands beyond that surface. But it gives me a quick way of defining essentially a plane that I can move these objects around on. So I could do something like stacking these objects together. Again, I could use my V key to stack one object on top of another, and then that becomes kind of my virtual ground plane. And I could take this guy and go in and hold V, snap it to the corner of that object. Now that becomes my virtual ground plane. And then I could shift select all these objects, hit my Y key again, and then just snap those down to the corner of, say, this larger cube, and then now that becomes, again, my virtual ground plane.